Hello, and welcome back. Today we will be finger knitting a blanket. It is getting very cold outside, so this is a quick and easy project to complete, very easy to learn. The dimensions of the blanket I have here are 70 inches by 34 inches. If you'd like to use the exact same dimensions as me, but feel free to freestyle and go based off of whatever furniture piece you'd like to sit it on or whatever you think it could have a better function for. This material is very soft. And the yarn we're using today is Bernat Blanket Big. I got a lot of skeins of this yarn because I wasn't sure how much I needed, so I actually bought 12 and I only ended up using 5 of them. I would still say just get more than you anticipate and just return the rest later, because if you haven't done finger knitting before, your tension can vary and this yarn is very bulky, so it's very easy to need more or less depending on your tension. So I'd always just get more to avoid the headache so you can complete your project if you do run out, and then like I said, you can just return it later. But let's get right into it. But today we're just going to do a simple square or rectangle. I have a swatch right here. This is what it's going to look like. And basically, to make your blanket, you just get the dimensions you want and go based off the length and width for that. So first we're going to start down here. So this is going to be the width, right? So make sure you make it as wide as you want, because once you start off, you won't be able to make it any wider, but you'll be able to make it as tall as you want, right? So just keep that in mind, that we work the width first. So start with your width measurement. And then, like I said, you can get it as tall as you want. I'm using a thinner yarn here just because it's easier to see for the tutorial. So just to get started, you want to take your yarn like this and twist it to make a little loop. You're going to take your index finger and thumb, put it through the hole, and pull up a loop. And that is basically what we will be doing for the majority of the project. So you have a little loop here, and you're just going to make many more loops. So again, through the hole, and then take your working yarn. Your working yarn is always the yarn that comes from the ball, never this little tail here. And you just pull it up like that. Okay, so you want to try and make sure you keep the same tension. You don't want the second loop or your following loops to be like this when your first one was like this. So try your best to keep them all the same size. With practice, you'll get it. And the great thing about this project is it works up really fast, so you can actually undo it and redo it and actually learn pretty quickly and perfect the technique. So again, fingers, sometimes I go this way as well, but you just want to make sure you're pulling up that working yarn from the ball, and you just keep on going like that. Pierce your fingers through and pull up a loop, and eventually you'll have something that looks like this, right? So just pull up loops over and over and over again. Pretty simple. Okay, so it looks like we got the chain down pretty simple. Again, this is the width of your project, so this is as wide as it ever will be. If you need it wider, just keep on going. Once you get to the end of your first row, you're going to basically pull a loop through this loop again, right? So this is the very last loop, and we're going to put our fingers through this loop and pick up the yarn. And just to remind yourself that you're going the other way, now I always make sure the yarn is facing the way that I'm going. So now we're going this way, and the yarn is going to flow this way. All right, so this one was pretty easy to see. So this is the next one, right? This is the one we just went in, and this is the next one beside it. put your index finger and your thumb through and pull up the yarn. And again, we still want to try our best to match these sizes. Not perfect, but as close to perfect or as identical as you can get it. Right here would be the next one. So both fingers through, pull up a loop. It doesn't really matter how you pull it up. It just matters that you pull it up, right? So if you want to, I don't know, use your pinky or something, if that feels better for you, you can definitely do that. I just do what feels natural. And again, trying my best to keep them all the same size. Again, we have another one here. Pull up. And another one. Okay, perfect. Pull up. And the very last one, which is the first one we made, we're going to pull up in there. And then you have something that looks like this. It will bend and turn a little bit, but you want to try your best to keep it straight as best as you can. So now we're at the end of this row. So we're going to do the same thing, but just going the opposite direction. So you want to prepare for your yarn to go this way, because now we're going this way. So just pull up a loop through that last loop and make sure again the working yarn is facing in the direction that you're going. So it's going this way. And that way it is also easier to just pull up the loops. And from here on out, it's just much easier because you can really see what you're working in. So you're only working in the active loops. So pull up like that. And pull up again. And again. Right? And you can see it's bending. And now that there's more project, you can kind of hold it in your hands and work on it. As it gets larger, the project, you will have to hold it in various different ways. So just don't worry about that too much. So they're all pretty much the same size, except for this one here. So if you ever make a loop that's too big, just tug on the working yarn and then basically you fix the size. So we're going to do one more row and then we're going to cast off. So again, you want the yarn going this way because you're going this way now. Pull up a loop. Again, it's really easy this row. I'm going to go a little bit faster because you're just working in the active loops that are very easy to see at this point. So just pull those all up. Great, great, great. Oh, okay. And when you're doing your cast off row, you actually want to make your cast off row is your final row. So once you're doing your final row and you finally reach the length that you want, you actually want to make sure that those loops are bigger than the ones you were making before. So I forgot to do that, and I'm going to show you how to correct it. Basically, you can pull everything out, or you can start at the beginning of the row we just finished and slightly pull up like that, making this one bigger, right? Once you make this one bigger, the one beside it is going to lose its height, but you're basically like borrowing yarn from all of them to make them bigger. And that's just, this is also a trick if you wanted to save any of your stitches. Sometimes you just need to tug on it to revive it, and that's all it really takes. But you may do that just a couple of times. I personally think this is easier and nicer to do than to undo everything. Now we can see we have taller loops, and basically we do that because if your cast off loops are the same size as your loops underneath it, like in the body, basically your project is going to scrunch up on itself like that and be very restricted and tight. So to avoid that, that's why we have the cast off loops being a little bit larger than usual. And this is how you would cast off. So you're going to take this loop on the opposite end of where the working yarn is, right? You're going to go through it like we always do, and you're just going to pull up the loop beside it. So now we have that next loop, right? Now we're going to pull this one up through this one. And again, now this one up through this one. And you can kind of see now why we needed those loops to be slightly bigger. Now this one through this one. And you're just going to do that all the way down with every single loop. This is actually really fun. I can't even lie. So if you're looking for like a good calming hobby to do to help you relax, this is definitely the one, because I honestly can redo this, take it apart and do it again over and over and over again. It's actually very, very relaxing. And then you have something like this. So when you're done, basically you just take the working yarn from the ball and you pull it up. You make another loop, it's just loops galore, and then you can cut it. And then you tug, when you tug on it like that, it makes a knot, so it's super secure. And then you would just weave in this tail end. You can do it with your fingers. Oh, that probably wasn't a good idea, but basically you can pull it through like that and kind of hide it. And you would do that all the way down. And then, well, I guess I can just show you. You can just weave it through that like chain, stitch at the top here, and then you'd be all good to go. Ooh, that looks so pretty. And the other side is stockinette, so it looks like that. That's all it really takes. So it's also good to practice because you can see your tension. So this is the first one I did. You can see the chain stitch at the top wasn't as nice. So practice is definitely worth it. But it all depends on which one you like better. Some may like this one better. I definitely like this one better. I think it looks a lot cleaner and nicer. So yeah, after you do this in the dimensions you like, you'll have your beautiful chunky blanket. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Have a good one.